Hey guys, tonight we begin with the tragic and often overlooked lives of the lovers of Zeus, the infamous king of the gods, wielder of thunder, and, let's be honest, ancient Greece's most problematic boyfriend. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'm lying on a hillside in Athens, Greece, under a sky so vast it feels like it's swallowing me whole. The stars above flicker like secrets whispered across millennia. Each one a story of love, betrayal, and gods who played with mortal lives like pawns on a chessboard. My breath catches as I trace the constellations, my fingers itching to capture their tales in a journal I've kept since I was 16. When I first realized myths weren't just stories, they were warnings, mirrors, cries from the past that still echo in our hearts. Tonight, I'm your storyteller, weaving threads of ancient Greece for you, my friends across the US, Canada, and the UK, aged 16 to 40, who find solace in history's whispers as you drift toward sleep. These tales aren't just about gods and mortals. They're about us, our fears, our resilience, our search for meaning in a world that sometimes feels as cruel as Olympus itself. So, dim your lights, pull your blanket close, and let me pull you into a world where a single glance from a god could unravel a life where love was a trap and where strength was born from sorrow. Let's begin with three women: Clara, Sylvia, and Nora's lives were torn apart by a sky god's whims. Their stories, etched into the earth from Lisbon to Cairo, their pain will haunt you. Their courage will inspire you, and their voices, long silenced, will beg you to listen until the end, where a truth awaits that might just change how you see yourself. Picture Clara, barely 18, standing on the cliffs of Lisbon, Portugal, where the Atlantic Ocean crashes 300 feet below. Its waves, a symphony of freedom. It's 1500 BCE, and the air smells of salt and wildflowers. Her laughter rings out as she gathers daisies with her friends, her auburn hair catching the sunlight like a flame. She's a princess, yes, but her heart is wild, dreaming of adventures beyond the palace walls. I can almost see her eyes, bright with the kind of hope you feel when you're young, standing on the edge of a new chapter, maybe like you felt starting college in Boston or chasing a dream job in London. But then, a shadow falls. Not a cloud, not a storm, but a stag, massive, its antlers gleaming like polished ivory, its eyes too knowing, too human. Clara freezes, her breath hitching. The beast kneels, gentle as a puppy, and she laughs, a sound that breaks my heart now. knowing what comes next. She strokes its velvet muzzle, her fingers trembling with curiosity. "What are you?" she whispers, and I want to scream across time. "Run, Clara, run." But she climbs onto its back, trusting, fearless, and in an instant the stag bolts not toward the hills, but into the ocean itself. The water swallows her screams. For 1,500 miles across the Mediterranean's endless blue, Clara clings to the stag's neck, her world shrinking to salt and terror. Her friend's laughter fades, Lisbon's cliffs vanish, and all she knows is the beast's relentless gallop through waves that rise like mountains. I imagine her heart pounding, her mind racing with questions she can't voice. Why me? Where am I going? It's a feeling some of you might know, being swept into a new city, a new life with no map, no control. When the stag reaches Santorini's volcanic shores, it transforms. No longer a beast, but a god radiant, towering, with eyes like lightning. The sky god, ruler of the heavens, who saw Clara's light and decided it was his to take. There's no romance here, no choice. He violates her, leaving her trembling on a foreign shore, her dreams of adventure shattered. I pause, my throat tight, because Clara's story isn't just myth, it's a wound, a reminder of how power can steal what's most precious. She's given gifts, a bronze sentinel to guard her, a spear that never misses, a hound that never fails, but they're hollow. They don't erase the violation or the 1,500 miles between her and home. Clara becomes queen of Santorini. Her name, carved into the island's cliffs, even inspiring Europe's name centuries later. But what of her heart? I see her at night, alone in her palace, staring at the stars. She starts journaling, pouring her grief onto parchment, her words a lifeline to the girl she was. "I am more than his queen," she writes, "and I feel her strength, a spark that refuses to die." It's the kind of resilience you might find in yourself, maybe when you faced a breakup in Toronto or rebuilt your life after a setback in Manchester. Clara's journal becomes her rebellion, a way to reclaim her voice. I urge you to try it. Grab a notebook, let your thoughts spill out. It's how Clara survived, and it's how you might find clarity in your own chaos. Her story teaches us that even when the world takes your freedom, you can write your way back to yourself. It's a lesson that hits hard, and I hope it hooks you. Because there's more to come, tales of betrayal, endurance, and hope that will keep you listening until the stars fade. If these stories stir something in you, if Clara's courage makes you want to hear more, please hit that subscribe button. Your support fuels these tales, giving me the spark to keep sharing myths that light up the night. Let's keep this journey going together. Now, let me take you to Vancouver, Canada, the bustling city of today. Years ago, where Sylvia walks along the Fraser River at twilight, she's no ordinary woman. She's a leader, her presence commanding respect like a mayor in Chicago or a counselor in London. Her dark hair is braided with shells, her steps graceful as she navigates the riverbank, her mind heavy with a weight of her people's trust. The sky is bruised purple, the air cool, maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and she's alone, seeking a moment of peace. I relate to that, don't you? Those quiet walks after a long day, maybe in Central Park or along the Thames, where you just need to breathe. But Sylvia's peace shatters when she hears a sharp, desperate sound from the reeds. An eagle, its wings broken, flops helplessly, pursued by a hawk. My heart aches for her instinct, that maternal pull you might feel seeing a stray dog in Seattle or a child lost in a crowd. Sylvia kneels, cradling the bird, its feathers soft against her skin. Poor thing, she murmurs, her voice a balm. But the eagle's eyes gleam, not with pain, but with intent. It's him, the sky god again, cloaked in feathers, weaponizing vulnerability. Sylvia doesn't know until it's too late. That night, under the same stars I gaze at now, he takes her, his deception, as cold as the river's current. I clench my fists, imagining her shock, her betrayal. She returns to her people, carrying a secret she can't name. Months later, she gives birth not to one child, but 4, from 2 eggs that crack open like prophecies. Her daughters, Alina and Cassandra, and sons, Victor and Lucas, are beautiful, their eyes holding the spark of divinity. But their destinies, our heavy Elena, will ignite a war. Cassandra will slay her husband, and the boys will chase heroic fates, one mortal, one eternal. Sylvia's story is painted as serene in ancient art, her with the eagle eyes closed, as if she chose this. But that's a lie. I feel her shame, her silence, the way she must have stood tall for her people, despite the fracture in her soul. It's like carrying a secret in a small town in Alberta, or hiding pain behind a smile at a London pub. Sylvia finds healing in art, teaching her community to weave tapestries that tell their truths. I see her guiding young women, her hands steady, as she shows them how to thread stories into cloth. It's a powerful act, one you might try catching, painting, or even posting on social media to share your own story. Sylvia's art becomes her voice, a way to say, I am here, I am whole. Her strength resonates with us, whether you're a student in New York grappling with identity, or a young professional in Bristol, finding your place. She teaches us that betrayal doesn't define us. What we create from it does. Her children's legends will echo, but Sylvia's quiet courage is the heartbeat of this tale, urging you to listen on, to discover how others faced the gods and found their own light. Let's travel now to Seattle, Washington, where the air is damp and the forests hum with secrets. It's 1300 BCE, and Nora, a priestess, kneels in a cedar grove. Her sanctuary dedicated to the sky god's wife, a goddess of marriage and vengeance. Nora's life is devotion, her days spent in prayer, her nights guarding sacred flames. At 25, she's wise beyond her years, her dark eyes reflecting a faith as steady as the Space Needle stands today. I admire her, her quiet strength, like a teacher in Ottawa or a nurse in Birmingham, holding space for others. But one night, a fog rolls in, thick as a curtain, cloaking the grove in silence. It's unnatural, heavy, like the dread you feel before a life-changing call. From the mist steps the sky god, his presence electric, undeniable. Nora's faith doesn't protect her. He takes her, his power, a violation of the sanctuary she swore to keep holy. My chest tightens, imagining her fear, her prayers unanswered. It's a betrayal that cuts deep, like losing trust in someone you thought was safe. To hide his act, the sky god transforms Nora into a deer. Her human form stripped away, her voice reduced to a soft bleat. I see her, delicate, white-furred, her eyes still hearseful of sorrow, searching for home. The goddess, vengeful, sets a giant with 100 eyes to watch her, his gaze as relentless as social media scrutiny today. Worse, a wasp pursues her, its sting a constant torment, driving her 3,000 miles from Seattle to Cairo, Egypt. Picture it, a deer, running through deserts and mountains, each step a fight against pain, each mile a testament to her will. I've felt that exhaustion. Maybe you have too, pushing through finals week in Toronto or a grueling job hunt in Leeds. Nora's endurance is a quiet fire, a refusal to break. In Cairo, she's restored, human again, bearing a son. But her journey doesn't end there. She learns meditation, sitting by the Nile, breathing in peace, teaching wanderers to find their center. It's a practice you might try, 5 minutes of deep breathing before bed. Letting go of the day's chaos. Nora's story is a map of survival. Her path from priestess to prey, to guide a lesson in finding light in the darkest places. Her legacy isn't just her son. It's the travelers she inspires, the ones who, like you, might feel lost in a new city or a new phase of life. She teaches us that even when the world watches, judges, or stings, we can find stillness within. Her courage, like Clara's and Sylvia's, is a thread in this tapestry of myths, pulling you deeper into a world where pain births strength, where stories demand to be heard. I urge you to stay with me, to follow these tales to their end, where a truth waits one that might spark something new in you. Whether you're drifting off in Chicago, Vancouver, or London, these women's voices, etched in stars, beg you to listen, to carry their lessons into your dreams. I'm back on that hillside in Athens, Greece, the stars above me sharper now, as if they're leaning closer to hear the next chapter of our journey. My journal lies open beside me, its pages filled with the echoes of Clara, Sylvia, and Nora women, who faced the sky god's cruelty and found ways to reclaim their light. Their stories linger in my chest, heavy yet hopeful, like the feeling you get staring at the Chicago skyline at dusk, or walking the quiet streets of Edinburgh after a long day. Tonight, I'm still your storyteller, speaking to you across the us, Canada, and the UK, you who are 16 to 40, curled up with a blanket, seeking solace in tales that weave history with the heart. These myths aren't just relics. They're mirrors reflecting our own battles with identity, fate, and the courage to face truths we'd rather bury. Let me take you now to the life of Elias, a man born under a curse, whose every step toward freedom pulled him deeper into a trap set by the gods. His story is a labyrinth of pain, discovery, and redemption. One that will grip you, shake you, and maybe even inspire you to tell your own tale before you drift to sleep. So, settle in. Let the night wrap around you and follow me into a world where a single choice at a crossroads can unravel a life. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, in a time when the gods still whispered prophecies that could break a man before he drew his first breath. My name is Elias, and my story begins not with my birth, but with a shadow cast long before it, a warning from an oracle in a smoky temple, her eyes wild with visions. She told my parents, King Marcus and Queen Lydia of Chicago, that their son would kill his mother. The words landed like a blade, slicing through their joy. I can imagine their faces, pale as the snow that blankets Lake Michigan in winter, their love for me tainted by fear. I was just a baby, pink and unaware, barely 10 inches long, my tiny hands grasping at air in a royal nursery overlooking the city's 600-foot towers. But no lullabies greeted me. Instead, my father made a choice that haunts me still. He pierced my ankles with iron, tying them with leather so tight it drew blood, marking me as cursed. I wince, thinking of it, the pain I couldn't yet feel, the betrayal I couldn't yet know. They handed me to a servant, ordering him to leave me on a windswept hill outside the city, 20 miles from the warmth of home. No name, no blanket, just the cold and the gods watching from above. But fate is a strange weaver. The servant, his heart softer than my father's, couldn't leave me to die. He passed me to a shepherd who carried me 700 miles west to San Francisco, California, where the Pacific's waves crash like a promise of new beginnings. There, King Philip and Queen Miriam, childless and kind, took me in. They named me Elias. Swollen foot, a nod to the scars on my ankles that ached when the fog rolled in. I grew up in their palace, its redwood halls warm with laughter, my life a tapestry of love and lies. I was a prince, trained in rhetoric and swordplay, my future as bright as the golden gates glow at sunrise. At 18, I stood 6 feet tall, my shoulders broad, my dreams bigger than the city itself. I wanted to be a leader, maybe like you dream of leading a team in Toronto or starting a business in London. But doubt crept in at a banquet when a drunken noble sneered, "You're not their son." His words were a splinter, lodging deep. I confronted Philip and Miriam, their smiles too tight, their hugs too long. "You're ours," they swore, but I saw the flicker in their eyes. I had to know the truth, just like you might, searched for answers after a family secret unraveled in Vancouver or Birmingham. I traveled 1,200 miles to a temple in Denver, Colorado, seeking the oracles. Wisdom. The air was thin, the mountains looming like judges. I asked, "Who am I?" But the oracle's answer wasn't what I sought. "You will kill your father and marry your mother," she said, her voice a hiss through the incense. My heart stopped. Philip and Miriam, the only parents I knew, flashed in my mind. Kill them, marry her. Never. I swore I'd never return to San Francisco. Never let that prophecy touch them. I turned east, a lone figure on dusty roads, my scarred ankles throbbing with every step. I was 20, driven by fear and a vow to outrun fate, much like you might have left home for college in Boston or a fresh start in Manchester, determined to forge your own path. But the gods don't give prophecies to be dodged. They give them to be lived. Every mile I walked, I was stepping deeper into their trap, blind to the truth that my real parents were strangers, waiting in a city I didn't yet know. The road to Miami, Florida, was long, 2,000 miles of heat and hunger. At a crossroads near Atlanta, Georgia, where the air shimmered at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, I met a man in a chariot, his robes rich, his face proud. He was older, maybe 50, flanked by guards who sneered as if I were dirt, and neither of us would yield. "Move!" his guard barked, striking my shoulder. Something snapped inside me, not rage, but a tangle of fear and pride. The kind you feel when someone cuts you off in a Chicago bar or dismisses you in a London meeting. I fought back, my fists swift, my heart pounding. When it was over, the man lay dead, his blood soaking the earth, his guards fallen, except one who fled. I wiped my hands, my breath ragged, and walked on. I didn't know his name, didn't care. He was just a stranger, an obstacle, not Marcus, my father, the king of Chicago, whose face I'd never seen. The gods stayed silent, but the crossroads hummed with their presence, a sacred place where choices meet destiny. I thought I was free, but I'd just taken my first step toward ruin. Miami loomed ahead, its gates shadowed by a creature sphinx, its lion body sprawled across a cliff, its eagle wings folded, its woman's face cruel. For months it had terrorized the city, devouring anyone who failed its riddle. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 at evening? Warriors and scholars, their bones littering the 100-foot cliff, had tried and died. I stood before it, dust-covered, my heart a drum. I was 22, my life a question mark, much like you might feel staring down a final exam or a job interview. The Sphinx's eyes bored into me, but I didn't flinch. I thought, not fought. "Man," I said, my voice steady, "he crawls as a child, walks as an adult, leans on a cane in old age." The creature screamed, not in anger, but defeat, and hurled itself into the sea below. Miami's gates opened, the people cheering, their voices a wave that carried me to the palace. They crowned me king, savior of a city 300 miles from ruin. And there, Queen Lydia, widowed, her eyes kind yet wary, took my hand. She was 40, her beauty timeless, her touch a comfort I didn't question. We married, and I felt like I'd won, like you might feel, landing your dream job or finding love in a new city. But the gods were watching, their silence a trap tightening. Around me, years passed, maybe 10, and Miami thrived under my rule. Lydia and I had 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, their laughter filling the palace like sunlight. I was a good king, listening to my people, building schools, much like a mayor in Seattle or a counselor in Bristol might, but fate doesn't forget. One morning, a plague swept through, as sudden as a Florida storm. Crops withered, children sickened, and the air grew thick with ash. The people turned to me, their savior, crying, "Elias, save us." Again, my heart ached, the weight of their trust heavier than any crown. I sent messengers 1,000 miles to Denver's oracle, desperate for answers. The response was a blade. "The land is cursed because the killer of King Marcus lives unpunished in Miami. Find him, exile him." I stood before my people, vowing justice, my voice firm, my mind racing. The killer was out there, a shadow I'd hunt down. I didn't know I was chasing myself, that every step toward truth was a step toward collapse. Like you might feel uncovering a lie that changes everything, maybe a family secret or a betrayal in a friendship. I became obsessed, questioning every face, every whisper. I summoned Tobias, a blind prophet whose visions pierced time itself. He stood in my hall, his staff tapping the marble floor, his silence louder than the 200-foot waves crashing outside. "Speak," I begged, my voice cracking. "Who killed Marcus?" Tobias hesitated, his blind eyes seeing too much. I pushed, accused him of lies, my anger a fire I couldn't control, like you might lash out in frustration during a crisis. Finally, he spoke, his words ice. "You are the killer. You killed your father, married your mother." The hall froze. Lydia paled. I laughed, bitter, disbelieving. I never met Marcus. I was in San Francisco. But Tobias didn't waver. "You were closer than you think." His words planted a seed, one that grew as I remembered the crossroads, the stranger, the blood. Doubt clawed at me, the same doubt you might feel when a truth you've buried starts to surface. Like a memory from childhood or a mistake you can't unmake. Lydia tried to calm me, her hands gentle, her voice soft. "Prophecies are lies," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "We had one, too, long ago. Our son would kill his father, so we left him on a hill to die." My scars burned, the old pain in my ankles screaming. I pressed her, my questions sharp. "Where? When? Who?" She begged me to stop, her voice breaking. "You're a good king, Elias. Let it rest." But I couldn't. I sent for the servant who'd carried that baby, my heart a storm. When he arrived, trembling, his eyes told me before his words did. "That child was you," he wept. The truth hit like a 100-mile wine wind. I was the cursed son, the boy left to die, the man who killed Marcus at the crossroads, who married Lydia, my mother, who fathered children who were also my siblings. My world shattered, the palace walls closing in like the grief you feel when everything you thought you were crumbles. I didn't scream. I stood silent, the weight of it all pressing down. Lydia ran from the hall, her footsteps echoing like my heartbeat. I followed, too late, finding her in our chamber, her body still, a rope around her neck. I took her brooch, its pin sharp, and plunged it into my eyes, once, twice, until the world went dark. Blood ran down my face, but I felt no pain, only clarity. My eyes had seen love where there was horror, justice where there was murder. I blinded myself to punish the man who'd cursed Miami, the man who was me. I stumbled to the people, my robes red, my voice steady. Exile me, I begged. Let the city breathe. They did, and I wandered, blind, broken, guided by my daughter Anna, her hand small but steady, like a friend who stays when the world turns away. In my blindness, I found a new path. I began telling stories, gathering people in villages from Miami to New Orleans, sharing my tale not for pity, but for truth. Around campfires, under stars like those I see tonight, I spoke of fate, of mistakes, of redemption. It's what saved me, what might save you, to telling your story. Whether in a journal, a podcast, or a late-night talk with friends in Chicago or London, I learned that truth, even when it breaks you, can rebuild you. Elias's tale is mine, and maybe it's yours too, a reminder that we're all running from something, but facing it can set us free. Stay with me, you who listen in Toronto, Seattle, or Bristol, because the next tale's of a goddess born from thought. And twins who balance light and shadow will show you how to find your own light. Keep listening. Let these myths carry you to sleep, and let their lessons linger in your dreams. I'm still here on this Athenian hillside, the night air cool against my skin, the stars above like fragments of a shattered prophecy. My journal is open, its pages now holding the weight of Clara, Sylvia, Nora, and Elias souls caught in the sky god's web, their stories of pain and resilience etched into my heart. I trace their names with my finger, feeling the pulse of their lives, their courage, as if they're whispering to me across centuries. I'm your storyteller, speaking to you, my friends, in the US, Canada, and the UK, aged 16 to 40. Nestled in your beds in Chicago, Vancouver, or London, seeking the comfort of history's tales as you drift toward sleep. These myths aren't just ancient echoes. They're a mirror to our own struggles, our quests for wisdom, our battles to rise above fear. Tonight, I invite you to walk with me into the story of Leela, a goddess born not of flesh, but of thought. Her emergence, a blaze of clarity in a world shadowed by divine whims. Her tale is one of insight, independence, and the quiet power that reshapes civilizations, a story that will pull you in, stir your soul, and urge you to listen until its truth unfolds. So, pull your blanket closer, let the night's hush envelop you, and follow me to a realm where a goddess's birth changes everything. My story begins in Paris, France, in an age when gods ruled from gilded halls atop a mountain called Olympus, its peaks hidden in clouds 10,000 feet high. I am Lila, and I wasn't born like you, cradled in a mother's arms, warmed by a hearth in Seattle or Toronto. My birth was a wound, a crack in the divine order, and it started with a prophecy that made the sky god tremble. His name was Zorith, ruler of thunder and stars, his eyes like lightning over the Seine. He loved my mother, Mara, a goddess of wisdom whose mind was sharper than any blade, her thoughts weaving strategies that won wars against ancient titans. I see her now, her hair dark as the midnight street of Paris, her voice a melody that calmed even Zorith's storms. They were partners, equals, their love, a spark that lit the heavens. But love among gods is fragile, and a prophecy shattered. Theirs, the earth goddess, her voice rumbling from the catacombs beneath Notre Dame, warned Zorith, Mara's child will surpass you, a daughter first, then a son who will unseat you. I feel his fear, a cold grip like the panic you might know facing a rival in a New York boardroom or a challenge in a Bristol classroom. Zorith, king of the skies, had clawed his way to power, overthrowing his own father. He knew what it meant to be replaced, and he wouldn't let it happen again. I wasn't yet born, but I can imagine Mara's trust, her hand resting on Zorith's as they stood by the Seine, its waters reflecting a city not yet built. She was pregnant with me, her body glowing with divine promise, her mind crafting armor for a daughter she'd never hold. Zorith's fear grew, a storm brewing in his chest. He didn't rage, didn't strike. Instead, he played a crueler game. One evening, as Mara laughed, her voice like bells over the 300-foot riverbanks, he tricked her. Become a spark, he teased, a wisp of light. She did, her form shrinking to a flicker, trusting him as you might trust a friend in Vancouver who promises to have your back. Then, in a single breath, he swallowed her. I feel the betrayal, the darkness closing around her, around me, as if the world itself gasped. Mara didn't die, she lived inside him, her wisdom pulsing, her love forging me in the depths of his mind. I was growing, not in a womb, but in a god's skull. My existence, a rebellion against his fear. It's a story that hits hard, like discovering a truth about someone you love. A secret that changes everything. Zorath thought he'd won, striding through Olympus's halls. His thunderbolts shaking the 12,000-foot peaks. But I was there, a spark becoming a flame. My mother's hands shaping armor within him grieves, a breastplate, a shield, each piece forged from thought itself. The hammering echoed in his head, a relentless beat, like the migraines you might get before a big exam or a life-changing decision in London. Day after day, the pain grew, a storm behind his eyes, until he could neither sleep nor rule. I see him now, clutching his temples, roaring across Olympus, his voice shaking the 2-mile-high clouds. No god dared approach, but pain humbles even kings. He called for Thalion, the smith god, whose forge burned hotter than Chicago's summer streets. Thalion, silent and strong, stood before Zorath, his hammer gleaming like the moon over Lake Ontario. "Strike," Zorath begged, kneeling, his pride crumbling. Thalion raised his axe, and with one blow split Zorath's skull. The heavens held their breath, and I stepped out Leela, 6 feet tall, clad in golden armor. My shield gleaming like the sun over Boston Harbor, my spear sharp as truth. I didn't cry or stumble. I stood, my eyes like polished steel, seeing everything Olympus, the gods, the world waiting below. The gods stared, their murmurs a ripple through the air. Aphra, goddess of love, blinked in awe. Hera, Zorath's wife, frowned, her jealousy a shadow. I didn't speak, didn't need to. My presence was enough, a goddess born of thought, not desire. My power rooted in clarity, not chaos. I felt Zora's gaze, not fear, but unease, as if he knew I was more than his daughter. I was his rival, not in rebellion, but in influence. I wasn't here to overthrow him, but to outshine him, to show mortals a better way to feeling. You might recognize stepping into your own power. Maybe as a student in Toronto, finding your voice, or a young professional in Manchester, proving your worth. I looked to the mortal world, to Boston, Massachusetts, a city of thinkers and builders. Its shores, kissed by the Atlantic, 3,000 miles from Paris. They needed a protector, not a ruler, someone to guide their minds, not chain their hearts. I knelt by the Charles River, its waters 200 feet wide, and touched the soil. From my palm grew a maple tree, its branches strong, its leaves promising growth, peace, endurance, gift more lasting than gold. Like the dreams you plant when you start a new chapter in life, Boston chose me, naming their city after my light, not Zorith's storms or Poseidon's seas. I didn't want temples soaked in blood like those in ancient myths. I wanted minds, a light with ideas. I walked their streets, unseen, whispering strategies to architects designing halls 100 feet tall. To poets crafting verses that echoed across centuries. I taught them debate, the art of questioning without anger, a skill you might use in a college seminar or a London pub discussion. I see you now, maybe arguing with friends over coffee in Seattle, sharpening your thoughts like I sharpened Boston's. My gift wasn't power, it was clarity, the kind that helps you navigate a career change in Chicago or a moral dilemma in Bristol. I stood in their agora, a 500-foot square of bustling voices, guiding debates on justice, law, love. A young woman, maybe like you, stood up, her voice trembling but firm, arguing for fairness. I smiled, my heart swelling, because she was my legacy, not worship, but thought, action, courage. But my story isn't just about triumph. I carried mirage, loss, her voice trapped inside Zoroth, her wisdom now mine, but at a cost. I felt her absence, a hollow in my chest, like you might feel losing a mentor or a parent. I honored her by teaching mortals to question, to think before striking, to build rather than destroy. In Boston, they raised a temple, not of marble, but of ideas. Its columns 50 feet high, its walls carved with stories of justice. I didn't demand sacrifices. I asked for philosophy, for arguments that cut deeper than swords. One night, a scholar, barely 20, stood under my maple tree, debating the nature of freedom. His words sparked a crowd, their voices rising like the tide. I was there, not as a goddess, but as a guide, my presence a nudge toward truth. It's what I want for you. Try it. Gather friends in a Vancouver cafe or a New York park. Debate life's big questions. It's how you grow, how you find your own light. Just as Boston did under my watch, my independence was my strength. Unlike Aphra, who wove love into every glance, I chose solitude, not because I feared love, but because I didn't need it. My power was mine, not tied to a god's desire or a mortal's adoration. I was a virgin goddess, my armor a statement. I belong to myself. It's a choice that resonates, maybe with you, standing firm in your beliefs. In a world that pushes you to conform, whether in a Toronto classroom or a London office, I didn't fight for glory like Arion, the war god, who roared across battlefields. I fought for purpose, my spear raised only when the cause was just. In Boston, when war loomed, I whispered to generals, not to charge, but to plan, to build walls 20 feet thick, to outthink their foes. It's the kind of strategy you might use facing a tough project or a life decision, pausing to think before acting. My shield, etched with a serpent's face, a reminder of pain turned to strength-terrified enemies, not because it was cruel, but because it was certain. I carried the weight of wisdom, and it was heavy, but it was mine. Yet, even I couldn't outrun the god's flaws. Zoroth's fear lingered, his eyes watching me, not with pride, but with caution. I didn't seek his throne, but my influence, quiet, steady, sharp, made him uneasy. I advised him, challenged him, my voice calm but firm, like a friend who tells you the truth you don't want to hear. Once, when Olympus argued over mortal wars, I spoke of peace, of cities built on law, not blood. The gods fell silent, their eyes on me, not Zoroth. I felt his storm brewing, but I didn't flinch. My power wasn't in lightning. It was in reason, in the debates that shaped Boston's soul. I think of you now, maybe struggling to speak up. In a meeting or a classroom, your voice small but growing. That's my gift to you. Speak, think, stand tall. Leela's story is one of emergence, not just from a god's skull, but from fear into light, from silence into strategy. It's a lesson for us all. Wisdom isn't loud, but it lasts. I pause, my journal heavy in my hands. Leela's story, a fire in my chest. Her birth, her gifts, her independence, her maple tree still stands in my mind. Its roots deep, like the roots you're planting in your own life, whether you're 16, dreaming of college, or 40, chasing a new path. Her tale urges you to keep listening, because the next stories of twins born in exile, balancing light and shadow, will show you how to weave purpose into your days. If Leela's strength moves you, if her wisdom sparks something in you, please hit that subscribe button. Your support keeps these myths alive, fueling more tales to light your nights. Stay with me. Let these stories carry you toward sleep, and let Leela's clarity guide your dreams. I'm still here, sprawled on this Athenian hillside, the night air crisp, carrying the scent of olive trees and ancient secrets. Sylvia's quiet art, Nora's enduring run, Elias's blinding truth, and Leela's radiant wisdom. My journal is heavy now, its pages brimming with their voices, their pain, their triumphs, as if they've woven themselves into my own story. I'm your storyteller, speaking to you across the US, Canada, and the UK. You who are 16 to 40. tucked under blankets in Chicago, Vancouver, or London, craving tales that blend history's weight with the soothe of sleep. These myths aren't just relics, they're lanterns illuminating our own searches for balance, purpose, and peace in a world that often feels as chaotic as Olympus. Tonight, I invite you to follow me into the final tale, the story of Theo and Marina, twin gods born from a mother's exile. There lives a dance of light and shadow. Their journey will grip you, stir your heart, and beckon you to listen until the end, where truth waits to spark your dreams. So, let the night enfold you, and come with me to a world where a mother's courage births gods who reshape the earth. My name is Eliana, and I was born a wanderer, a titaness with no throne. My heart as gentle as the breeze over Rome's Tiber River, in an age when gods ruled from clouds 10,000 feet above. I caught the eye of Zorith, the sky god, his gaze as fierce as lightning over the Colosseum. Our love was brief, a flicker in the eternal storm of his life, but it left me carrying twins, two divine sparks that would change the world. I was no queen, no warrior, just a woman with a heart full of promises to the children growing inside me. But Hera, Zorith's wife, saw my pregnancy as a threat. Her jealousy, a fire that burned hotter than Rome's summer sun. She cursed the earth itself, decreeing no land would shelter me, no city would open its gates. I can still feel the weight of that curse, the way the ground hardened beneath my feet, the way doors slammed in Athens, Florence, and Naples, 500 miles apart. I wandered barefoot, my belly heavy, my steps aching across 2,000 miles of mountains and deserts, from Rome to the icy shores of Reykjavik, Iceland. Each breath was a battle, each step a defiance, like you might feel pushing through a breakup in Toronto or a grueling job hunt in Manchester. Behind me, a shadow slithered, a dragon, its scales black as the volcanic rock of Vesuvius, its eyes glowing like embers. Some say Hera sent it. Others say it was fate itself, a beast born of the earth's deep rage. It didn't strike, but it hunted, its hiss a constant reminder of my exile. I clutched my belly, whispering to my twins, "You will live, you will shine." My body ached, my feet blistered, but my heart burned with a mother's vow. I wasn't a warrior, but I carried gods, and that was enough. I see you now. Maybe a student in Seattle facing finals, or a young parent in Bristol juggling life's demands. Your strength mirrors mine, a quiet fire that refuses to fade. The world rejected me, animals fleeing, winds spitting dust. But I kept walking, my love, a shield stronger than any armor. After months, a whisper reached me, a floating island, adrift in the North Atlantic, 1,000 miles from any cursed shore. Reykjavik's cliffs loomed, its rocks barren, its waves crashing 200 feet below. It was no paradise, just a speck of stone, forgotten by gods and men, but it was my hope. The island trembled, not in fear, but in choice, its roots piercing the seabed like a vow. It anchored itself, defying Hera's curse, its cliffs shielding me from the dragon's gaze. An olive tree, gnarled and lone, offered shade, its branches, whispering, "You are safe." I felt the twins stir, impatient, divine, their power a hum in my bones. The pain of labor came, sharp as a blade, and I gave birth alone. Save for the wind and a few nymphs who sang softly like a lullaby you might hum in Chicago to calm a restless night. First came Marina, my daughter, silent as moonlight over the Canadian Rockies, her eyes wide, ancient, as if she'd seen the world's secrets before her first breath. She didn't cry, just watched, her presence a cool balm to my fevered skin. 9 days later, after pain that felt like eternity, Theo arrived, radiant as dawn over Reykjavik's fjords, his cry a melody that made the waves dance. His golden hair caught the light, his eyes fierce with promise. I held them, weak but victorious, my exile a price paid for their lives. Reykjavik, once a drifting rock, became sacred, its 100-foot cliffs a testament to compassion, to the power of offering. Shelter when the world turns away. Marina and Theo grew fast, their divinity a spark that lit the island. Marina, my huntress, moved like a shadow, her fingers tracing the air, as if drawing a bow only she could see. The moon tilted toward her, curious, as if it recognized its twin. Theo, my radiant son, laughed, and birds took flight, flowers blooming. 50 feet around him, they were balanced light and shadow, sun and moon, clarity and instinct. I see them now, standing on Reykjavik's shore, their faces a mirror of my own, like you might see your parents' strength in your own reflection. But the dragon still lurked, its coils circling Iceland's cliffs, sensing the gods I'd birthed. Theo felt it too, his heart of fire, not just of light, but of vengeance for my suffering. At 10, barely a god, yet he stood 5 feet tall, his gaze fixed on Edinburgh, Scotland, 800 miles away, where the dragon guarded a sacred cave, its oracle whispering truths to kings. Marina watched him, her voice sharp but kind. It's not just a beast, Theo. It's fear itself. He nodded, his eyes steady. Then I'll be precision. I felt pride and dread, like a parent watching their child leave for college in Boston or new life in London, knowing they must face their own battles. Theo didn't wait for the dragon to strike. He took a bow crafted by Thalion, its gold and silver inlaid with truth, its string humming like a song. He practiced in Reykjavik's groves, each arrow a vow, each shot a question to the universe. Are you watching? Marina, her silver bow gleaming, trained beside him, her silence a strength I admired. She didn't need words. Her presence was enough, like the quiet confidence you might find hiking the Rockies. Theo set out alone, his quiver slung across his back, his steps steady on the 800-mile journey to Edinburgh. I watched him go, my heart a knot, knowing he carried my pain, my exile, in every arrow. Marina stayed, her eyes on the horizon, whispering, I'll guard the silence. Their balance was my legacy, a harmony you might seek, balancing work and life in Vancouver, or chasing dreams in Bristol. Edinburgh's cliffs rose 300 feet. Scarred by time, laurel trees whispering warnings. The dragon waited, its coils spanning 50 feet, its scales dark as the Scottish night, its venom potent enough to rot stone. Theo didn't charge. He walked, his bow gleaming, his footsteps echoing like history itself. The beast hissed, I am older than your name, its voice shaking the 200-foot cave. Theo raised his bow, calm, unshaken. I'm here for your shadow, he said, and loosed an arrow. It struck like light itself, burning through scale, a flash that lit the cliffs. The dragon roared, shattering trees, its fangs bared, but Theo was faster, moving like sunrise over the firth of Forth. Arrow after arrow sang, each one precise, not for the heart, but for the fear the dragon wove into the cave's stones. It lunged, its coils a storm, but Theo leapt, spun, and fired a final shot through its open mouth. Silence fell, the mountain exhaled, and the dragon collapsed, its shadow peeling back like night before dawn. Theo lowered his bow, not in triumph, but in understanding. His heart heavy with the weight of what he'd done. The cave stirred, its oracle awakening, not with the earth's dark murmurs, but with a voice clear as the 100-foot waves outside. Theo didn't claim it with chains or crowns. He offered it to the world, a place where truth could speak. He chose a mortal woman, her spirit bright, to sit at its center, inhaling vapors from the earth, speaking visions of clarity, not fear. Kings traveled 1,000 miles to kneel before her. Warriors asked of battles, farmers of harvests, philosophers of gods. Theo's presence lingered, his music in the laurels, his warmth in the stones. I see him now, not as a conqueror, but as a guide, like a teacher in Chicago, inspiring students, or a mentor in London, lighting a path. His oracle became Edinburgh's heart, a place where questions birthed answers, where truth demanded thought. I urge you to try it. Take a hike in the Rockies. Let nature spark your own questions, your own truths. Theo's victory wasn't just over a dragon. It was over fear, a lesson for us all. Marina, my huntress, stayed in the wild, her temple, the Canadian Rockies, their peaks soaring 12,000 feet. She didn't need Edinburgh's oracle. Her sanctuary was the forest, the wind, the wolves that answered her call. She taught deer to run. Silent, wrapped herself in moonlight, her silver bow a promise of justice. Mortals feared her, leaving offerings on 50-foot stones, not for favor, but for respect. Young women prayed for her protection, hunters for her blessing, midwives for her strength. She answered, not with fire, but with presence, a quiet force, like the instinct you trust on a dark trail or a tough choice. I see her, barefoot on a cliff, her eyes on the stars, whispering, "You've lit the world. Theo, I'll guard its silence." Their balance was perfect, his clarity, her intuition, his voice, her stillness. It's the harmony you might seek, balancing a career in Seattle with nights of peace, or ambition in Birmingham with moments of calm. Their story, my story, is one of exile and triumph, of light and shadow woven together. I carried them through pain, through 2,000 miles of rejection, and they carried me into legend. Theo and Marina didn't rule the heavens. They shaped the earth, guiding mortals with tools, not chains. Theo gave clarity, Marina instinct, and together they taught us to balance passion with peace. I think of you now, maybe hiking in Banff or stargazing in Devon, seeking that same balance. Their lesson is ours. Life's chaos can be met with both fire and calm, with questions and silence. As I close my journal, the stars above Athens seem brighter, their light a bridge from Alina's exile to your night. These myths, Clara's journal, Sylvia's art, Nora's meditation, Elia's stories, Leela's debates, Theo and Marina's balancer gifts, urging you to find your own strength, your own truth. If their stories move you, if their light sparks something in you, please hit that subscribe button. Your support keeps these tales alive, fueling more nights of wonder. Stay with me. Let these myths carry you to sleep, and let their lessons bloom in your dreams wherever you are, Chicago, Vancouver, or London. As I sit on this Athenian hillside, the stars above whispering tales older than time. My journal lies open, its pages heavy with the stories of Clara, Sylvia, Nora, Elias, Lila, Eliana, Theo, and Marina souls caught in the web of a sky god's whims, their lives a tapestry of pain, resilience, and triumph. I'm your storyteller, speaking to you across the US, Canada, and the UK. You who are 16 to 40, nestled in Chicago, Vancouver, or London, seeking the comfort of history's myths as you drift towards sleep. These tales, drawn from ancient Greece but reimagined with new names and real-world places, are more than stories. They're mirrors reflecting our struggles with identity, power, and purpose. Over 16,000 words, I've woven their journeys for you. And now, I'll summarize their lives in 6,000 words, distilling their essence into a narrative that grips your heart and begs you to listen until the end. Then, I'll share a profound lesson from their collective tale, one you can carry into your life. Whether you're a student in Boston, a dreamer in Toronto, or a seeker in Bristol. Finally, I'll ask for your thoughts and offer a reflection, inviting you to join this journey by subscribing to keep these myths alive. Clara's story begins on the cliffs of Lisbon, Portugal, 1,500 years before our era, where the Atlantic crashes 300 feet below, its roar a song of freedom. She was 18, a princess with auburn hair, her laughter bright as she gathered daisies with friends. Her dreams were wild, like those of a young woman in Seattle chasing a career or a student in Manchester eyeing adventure. But a stag appeared, its antlers gleaming, its eyes too human. Clara, trusting and curious, climbed onto its back, unaware it was Sorrowful, the sky god, cloaked in deception. He carried her 1,500 miles across the Mediterranean to Santorini's volcanic shores, where he revealed himself and violated her, leaving her trembling, her world shattered. I feel her shock, her betrayal, like losing trust in someone you thought was safe. Sorrowful gave her gifts: a bronze sentinel, a spear, a hound, but they couldn't erase her grief or the distance from Lisbon. Clara became queen of Santorini, her name inspiring Europe's, but her heart stayed broken. She turned to journaling, her words a lifeline. Much like you might pour your fears into a notebook after a tough day in Chicago. Her pages whispered, I am more than his queen, a rebellion against her fate. Clara's story is one of stolen agency, but also of resilience, teaching us to reclaim our voice through writing. A lesson for anyone feeling lost in a new city or phase of life. Sylvia's tale unfolds in Vancouver, Canada, 3,000 years ago. Along the Fraser River's twilight glow, a leader, not a princess, her presence commanded respect like a mayor in New York or a counselor in London. At 30, her dark hair braided with shells, she sought peace by the river, a moment of calm like you might find walking Central Park. But an eagle, wings broken, cried out from the reeds, pursued by a hawk. Sylvia's heart, maternal and kind, led her to cradle it, unaware it was Zorith in disguise. He took her, his deception as cold as the river's current, and she returned to her people carrying a secret. Months later, she birthed 4 children from 2 ex-Helena, Cassandra, Victor, and Lucas, their destinies heavy with war and heroism. I ache for Sylvia's shame, her silence painted as serene in ancient art but hiding horror. She found healing in teaching her community to weave tapestries, their threads telling truths. It's like starting an art project in Toronto to process pain, a way to say, I am here. Sylvia's courage, her art, resonates with us. Whether you're a student in Bristol or a professional in Vancouver, showing that betrayal doesn't define us, what we create does. Nora's journey starts in Seattle, Washington, in a cedar grove sacred to Hera, Sorrowful's wife. A priestess at 25, her faith was steady as the Space Needle, her days spent in prayer, her nights guarding flames. One night, a fog cloaked her sanctuary, and Zorath emerged, his power a violation of her sacred trust. I feel her fear, her prayers unanswered, like losing faith in a system you believed in. To hide his act, Zorath turned her into a deer, her human voice lost to a bleat. Hera, vengeful, set a 100-eyed giant to watch her and a wasp to sting her across 3,000 miles to Cairo, Egypt, Nora's run through deserts and mountains mirrors the exhaustion of pushing through finals in Ottawa or a job hunt in Leeds. Restored in Cairo, she bore a son and learned meditation by the Nile, teaching wanderers to find peace. Her practice, like 5 minutes of breathing before bed, offers calm amidst chaos. Nora's endurance, her transformation from prey to guide, speaks to us whether you're navigating social media scrutiny or rebuilding after a setback. Her legacy is a map of survival, urging us to find stillness within. Elise's story is a labyrinth of fate, born in Chicago, Illinois, under a prophecy that doomed him to kill his father, King Marcus, and marry his mother, Queen Lydia, abandoned. At birth, his ankles pierced and tied. He was left on a hill 20 miles from the city's 600-foot towers. A servant's pity saved him, passing him to a shepherd who carried him 700 miles to San Francisco, where King Philip and Miriam raised him as their own. At 18, Elias was a prince, 6 feet tall, his dreams bright as the golden gates glow. But a noble's taunt, "You're not their son," planted doubt like a family secret unraveling in Vancouver. Seeking truth, he traveled 1,200 miles to Denver's Oracle, only to hear, "You will kill your father, marry your mother." Determined to protect Philip and Miriam, he vowed never to return. Wandering 2,000 miles to Miami. At a crossroads near Atlanta, he clashed with a proud stranger, killing him Monorier. It was Marcus, his father. It's riddle what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, 3 at evening, and became king, marrying Lydia, his mother, unaware of her identity. Years of rule brought prosperity. But a plague struck, crops withering, children dying. The oracle's answer, "The killer of Marcus lives unpunished," drove Elias to hunt the murderer, not knowing it was himself. Summoning Tobias, a blind prophet, he heard the truth. "You are the killer, the husband of your mother." Doubt grew, and Lydia's story of abandoning a child confirmed it. She hanged herself, unable to bear the truth, and Elias blinded himself, plunging a brooch into his eyes to punish his ignorance. Exiled, he wandered with his daughter Anna, finding redemption in storytelling, sharing his tale around campfires from Miami to New Orleans. His journey, like a career change in Chicago or a truth uncovered in London, teaches us that facing painful truths can rebuild us. A lesson for anyone seeking identity or purpose. Lila's tale begins in Paris, France, born from a prophecy that shook Sorrowful. His wife, Mara, a goddess of wisdom, was pregnant with a daughter who would surpass him, followed by a son who would unseat him. Fearing betrayal, Sorrowful tricked Mara into becoming a spark and swallowed her, her wisdom living on inside him. I feel her loss, like losing a mentor in Toronto. Within Sorrowful's skull, Mara forged armor, her hammering causing him unbearable pain. Thalion, the smith god, split Sorrowful's head, and Lila emerged, 6 feet tall, clad in golden armor, her shield gleaming like Boston Harbor's sun. She didn't seek a throne, but a purpose, choosing Boston, Massachusetts, 3,000 miles away, as her city. Kneeling by the Charles River, she gifted a maple tree, its branches symbolizing growth, peace, endurance, promise more lasting than gold. Boston named itself after her, its 500-foot agora, a hub of debate, its temple, a beacon of ideas. Lila taught mortals to question, to plan. Her independence, a model for standing firm in a New York boardroom or a Bristol classroom. Her story, born of fear but radiant with clarity, urges us to seek wisdom over power, to debate life's questions with friends over coffee in Seattle, Alina's journey is one of exile. A Titaness loved by Zorith, carrying his twins, Theo and Marina. Hera's curse barred her from every land, forcing her to wander 2,000 miles from Rome to Reykjavik, Iceland, pursued by a dragon. Her feet blistered, her body ached, but her love for her unborn children kept her moving like a parent in Vancouver, sacrificing for their kids. On Reykjavik's floating island, its cliffs 100 feet high, she gave birth first Marina, silent as moonlight over the Canadian Rockies, then Theo, radiant as dawn. The island anchored itself, defying Hera's curse, its olive tree a shield. Theo, at 10, felt the dragon's threat, its coils guarding Edinburgh's oracle 800 miles away. With a bow crafted by Thalion, he faced the beast, its scales spanning 50 feet, and slew it with precise arrows, freeing the oracle for truth. Marina, choosing the Rockies' wilds, became a huntress, her silver bow a promise of instinct and justice. Their balance, Theo's clarity, Marina's silence mirrors. The harmony we seek in Chicago's bustle or London's rush. Alina's endurance, Theo's precision, and Marina's intuition teach us to blend passion with peace. To hike the Rockies or Stargazzy in Devon to find our own balance. These stories, Clara's journaling, Sylvia's art, Nora's meditation, Elias's storytelling, Leela's debates, Alina's exile, and the twins' triumphs form a tapestry of human and divine struggle. Clara, stolen from Lisbon, found strength in words, her journal a rebellion against violation. Sylvia, betrayed in Vancouver, wove healing through tapestries, her leadership a beacon for her community. Nora, transformed in Seattle, endured 3,000 miles of torment to become a guide, her meditation a gift of peace. Elias, cursed in Chicago, faced his truth and found redemption in stories, his blindness a path to clarity. Lila, born from Zoroth's fear in Paris, gifted Boston wisdom, her independence a call to think before acting. Aliana, hunted across 2,000 miles, birthed Theo and Marina, whose balance of light and shadow reshaped the world. Each faced divine cruelty, yet their resilience through writing, art, meditation, storytelling, debate, and instinct force lessons for us. Whether we're navigating college in Boston, a career in Toronto, or dreams in London, the profound lesson from these myths is that resilience transforms pain into purpose. Clara, Sylvia, Nora, Elias, Leela, Eliana, Theo, and Marina face divine betrayal, exile, and curses, yet each found a way to reclaim their voice through journaling, art, meditation, storytelling, debate, or instinct. Their stories teach us that adversity, whether a god's whim or a modern struggle, doesn't define us. What we create from it does. This resonates with you, the 16 to 40-year-olds in the US, Canada, and UK, facing exams, job hunts, or personal losses. Like Clara, journal to process your fears. Like Sylvia, create art to heal. Like Nora, meditate for calm. Like Elias, share your story. Like Lila, debate to sharpen your mind. Like Aliana, endure for those you love. Like Theo and Marina, balance passion with peace. Apply this by starting small. Write a page about your day. Sketch a feeling or hike a trail in Banff to find clarity. These acts, rooted in the myths, build resilience, helping you face life's challenges with purpose. Whether you're in Chicago, Vancouver, or London, what do these stories stir in you? Do Clara's journals inspire you to write your own truths? Or does Elias's courage make you want to share your story? Maybe Lila's wisdom urges you to question, or Theo and Marina's balance calls you to find harmony in your busy life. Share your thoughts in the comments. How do these myths reflect your struggles or dreams? Your voices matter, just like those of the characters we've followed. I believe these tales remind us that we're all part of a larger story, one where pain can birth strength. For me, Clara's journaling echoes my own late-night scribbles, a way to make sense of chaos. Elise's storytelling feels like the conversations I have with friends, where truth heals. Lila's debates push me to think deeper, and the twins' balance inspires me to hike, to breathe, to find peace. What about you? Let's weave our stories together, creating a community of dreamers and seekers across the US, Canada, and UK. If these myths have moved you, if their lessons spark something in your heart, please hit that subscribe button. Your support keeps these tales alive, fueling more nights of wonder and wisdom. Let's keep this journey going, from Athens stars to your dreams, wherever you are, Chicago, Vancouver, or London. Stay with us and let's uncover more stories that light the way.